All right, good afternoon, Hillcrest. Sorry, I'm just a minute or two late, but we're going to get started. Today, we're going to continue with our chipping that we talked about from last time with me. Last time, we talked a lot about using a lob wedge, sand wedge, and a gap wedge, and a couple of little challenge situations. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about distance control, using some different clubs in our bag, what options we have a little bit closer to the green. Last week, I was about 10 yards off the green. Today, we're going to be within about 2 to 5 yards. So what are our options there? And how can we better shoot better scores within these ranges, okay? Again, if you have any questions, we're live. Go ahead and shoot them over. We'll get them answered. Otherwise, shoot us an email, give us a call, and we'll take good care of you either way. Again, today we've got some punch greens out here, but it really is a great time to practice, ball flight, distance control, and otherwise working on trying out some different clubs to see how they respond. We don't always have to have just that one go-to lob wedge or sand wedge or pitching wedge near the green. Sometimes there's some uneven grass, or maybe there's a little bit of trouble area. There's a divot in your way, something that might allow you to use a different club, that might force you to use a different club. And, having some good options and some confidence in what you can do will really help navigate some of those situations. So what we're trying to do today is show you a couple of different options, maybe think a little bit outside the box as to what you can do and how to utilize some of the different clubs in your bag. And as well, a little bit of technique to allow you to hit a little bit more solid chip shots. So what we're going to do today, I've got a couple of alignment sticks. And one of them I'm going to be using strictly for swing path, okay? Making sure that I'm swinging that club down a path that is very consistent and true to the target line that I want to hit. The other tool I'm going to use today is going to be my towel again. So I'll get that free. Got a lot of stuff here, so it'll be just a second. Okay, if you don't have a towel, it could be as simple as using a club head cover. You could throw a dime out here, a quarter, any money whatsoever would be fine. Okay, and what I'm going to start with is going to be my sandwich. It's kind of my go-to. It's the one I feel the most comfortable with. And what I'm trying to do is not necessarily look at the flag. What I'm trying to do is take this target, and I'm going to see how far the ball is going to roll when I hit that target. So my focus here is a lot of the same of what we did last week, where we're going to choke up on that club. We're going to have our weight slightly forward. Again, this time we're not so focused on having a big, huge angle and forward press. We're going to have that ball just a little bit more in the center of our stance. Okay, utilizing this alignment stick for a swing path of where my intended line is going to be. Now, what I'm looking for is, what does my sandwich do when I hit that one crisp? How far is that going to roll out? So my goal is I'm going to try to land it right on top of it. And we're going to check and see how far the sandwich rolls out and try to gauge that distance, okay? Okay. Just so happened to land one right on the towel, right on the middle, as I intended. We notice we just are swinging with very smooth, very light grip pressure, smooth tempo. Okay, again, weight slightly forward. Okay, just a nice small backswing down the line of that alignment rod, trying to hit that towel. Okay, so if we could take notice here as to what happened, the two golf balls that we have, again, I wasn't worried about my target line. being the flag, I was more concerned about the distance that those golf balls traveled. The true depth of those golf balls was really about the same. I landed them both right here, kind of in the middle, both with pretty much the same trajectory, and they had a good, let's pace it off here. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we were looking at about 9 feet of total roll. Now I understand that we have punch greens. They're gonna roll just a little bit slower right now. So let's maybe add about 25% to that. So 12 feet, let's call it, okay? Well, let's say now I have an idea of how far that club rolled out. Let's say I hit the same trajectory or the same swing trying to land this ball right here on my target with a pitching wedge. Okay, so the difference in loft of my pitching wedge and my sand wedge. Okay, I'll put my sand wedge here in my left hand, pitching wedge here in my right. Okay, and if we could take notice, the difference in loft, it doesn't look like a whole lot there, but I've got 10 more degrees of loft in my sand wedge, so that ball actually came up into the air just a little bit more. And if you've never thought about it, there's 2 different ways to stop a ball other than hitting the flag and making the shot. One is going to be spin, and believe it or not, all of us put spin on that ball. Okay, just by that golf ball being struck by the grooves, if we make that nice contact, the ball climbs the grooves, climbs the club face, creates a little backspin. That's why you tend to see that ball just grab just a little bit of resistance on the green, okay? Well, the other way to stop it is trajectory. So launching that ball up in the air. The higher we get it, the softer it's going to come down because it's coming down at a steeper angle. But today's goal really isn't to see how fast we can stop it. It's to understand the dynamics of our equipment and how that's going to affect a golf shot, okay? So again, I'm using now my pitching wedge, which is a 46 degree. So it's 10 degrees loft stronger than my sand wedge. What I expect to see is the ball to come out lower, land it here, and it's probably going to come out with a little bit more pace, and it's going to run out just a little bit farther. So let's take a look here. Again, same kind of setup. I'm not trying to change the shot shape at all. Lining up my club down the same line as the alignment rod. Weight just a slight bit forward. I'm trying to land this ball right on that blue towel again. We'll see what happens. Okay, I landed it kind of on the back half of that towel, but I still hit it. I'm going to say that's, very reasonable. Exceedingly happy with that end result. But I'm going to hit a couple more just to see what happens here. Again, club face going at my target. Weight slightly forward, just a nice small swing, focusing where I'm trying to land that ball. Okay, so as expected, we saw the ball come out much lower, okay? If the sand wedge got out about this height, the pitching wedge is down here. It's coming in much shallower and it's going to run out. So as we look at that, I'm going to pace it off. We got 1, 2, 3. We have our 9 feet, 5, 5.5. So now I'm looking at about 15 to 18 feet of run with a pitching wedge using almost the same swing. Okay, so well, how does that affect my golf game and the shot that I'm going to choose? Well, if we take a look at the different swing that it took for a sand wedge, I controlled my distance with the length of swing. Okay, sand wedge going to the blue flag. Okay, a little bit higher trajectory. Landed nice and soft. Again, I'll show it to you one more time. Flew it just a little bit farther. Now, to get this pitching wedge to go the same distance in the air, it's going to be subtle, but the swing is smaller and a little bit more controlled. Okay? Okay? Didn't quite land it there. Got a little swing flaw to that one, which I'll touch on here in a minute. Okay. Right, one more time. Okay, much better. So let's recap on what happened, and then we'll go to the next club. Sand wedge. A little bit more of a neutral to higher trajectory on this little shot. Landing it on the towel, rolls out about 9 to 12 feet. Pitching wedge. We went down in about 10 degrees aloft. Okay, so it's much lower. Ball's going to actually run out another 25 to 50%. So we're at 15 to 18 feet on that one. Okay. Now I'm going to go down to an 8-iron. Okay. Couple of shots here. Again, what I'm looking for is trying to not hit a hard shot. I'm trying to land it first and foremost on my target. Okay. Then I want to be able to base the rest of the run out on whatever club that I hit. I want to be able to test that and see how far it ran out so that I have a good idea of what to expect on the golf course. So I have an 8-iron. Again, it's the same kind of swing. I'm going to aim a little further left so that I miss the other golf balls that are out there and see what happens. Okay. I hit the middle of the towel as I wanted to. Ball ran out quite a bit. Try it one more time. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that off really quick. So 1, 2, 3. So now both of those golf shots with an 8-iron ran out to about 20 to 24, 25 feet. So what does that mean? Well, as we go down in the loft, okay, the ball's coming out much lower, but our swing is becoming much smaller, much more controlled. So we actually have a chance to use the contour of the green, okay, although there's not very much here, but I have to make a very small swing with an 8-iron. I'm much more likely to find the center of impact on that 8-iron with that little teeny swing. So we ask ourselves, well, what's more efficient for my golf game? What club's right for me? Well, not everybody's comfortable to hit a club that has a lot of loft to it. When it has loft, a lot of times we have to swing a little bit bigger. That's kind of the moral of the story for this lesson today. The longer our swing is, the harder it can be for us to find the center of that golf club. When we have a hard time finding the center of the golf club, regardless of skill level, we're going to struggle to control the distance of our golf ball, okay? Now, the end result of the distance of your shot is going to be determined, one, on your impact, how solid did you hit it, your club selection, and then the turf conditions. As you might have mentioned, or remember, early on I mentioned that the greens are this short range was aerated a week ago. The rest of the golf course just yesterday. So we have to be able to adapt to those conditions and understand that the pace is going to be a little bit slower. The ball's not going to run out quite as far, okay? But taking a smaller swing with a club that has less loft might allow you a little bit better opportunity to find that center of the club face, okay? Now, let's go into the hybrid. Oftentimes I see people trying to use the hybrid. They may not even know why, okay? And a little bit of the technique to that, it's almost like putting. We're going to have ourselves choked down quite a bit, okay? Now I'm almost going down all the way to the end of my grip where the shaft actually starts, and that way I've got a lot of control. The club's not full length. Again, full length, we're thinking full swing. Now I'm choking down even farther, okay? Again, the whole point is this club for me only has 19 degrees aloft, so it's going to come out really low, almost like a putt. But again, I'm 2 to 3 feet away from the edge of the green here. So the point for this shot is simply a little putting stroke with a longer golf club, okay? The other thing that happens with a hybrid that I think makes people a little bit more comfortable once they develop some skill or some comfort with this, it doesn't take a lot of skill to do this, just a little bit of technique, much like a putt. But what happens, what we find is the sole relief on a hybrid, it's meant to interact with the turf. It's meant to be very forgiving, launch that ball up in the air. A lot of relief on the club face as well for those mishits. So if I take those characteristics and I just think of a small putt, I'll have just enough loft to get over here onto the putting green. But what's going to happen is we're going to see it elevate slightly. I will bypass the inconsistency or, the long and the short of this little fringe cut, and we'll get that ball rolling almost immediately with a very small stroke, okay? I'm going to set up just like a putt. Again, just nice, even tempo, getting myself lined up, just a putting stroke. Okay. You might have taken notice on that one. Very small swing. It doesn't react like a putter. It actually comes off a little hotter, okay? Much like the hybrid and driver and 3-wood are supposed to, they're going to come off pretty hot. So before you go out on the golf course, find yourself some time down here or even up at the putting greens near the clubhouse to practice this one a little bit. You might find that it actually has a lot of attributes to this shot that might make it much easier for you. Again, you kind of bypass some of this fringe, gets that ball rolling almost immediately. It actually feels pretty good too, I think, if you like hybrids. Okay. So another thing that happened to me that I wanted to touch on as we were going through this little practice session is that impact. And I don't know if you saw it, but I had a hard time a couple of those swings where I was trying to demonstrate where I hit behind the ball a little bit. And boy, do we see this so often, and it really hits home with what we're trying to do, and that's controlled distance. And I hadn't mentioned it before, but how do we control distance? Well, one is going to be the club that we choose. One of them is going to be the conditions. So what kind of lie do I have to be able to choose the right club or to have options? The other factor is our tempo and our speed through the shot. We talk about this often when we go through the end of a lesson is our tempo, what we see as far as characteristics or flaws in a golf swing. And one of those tends to be we try to take the club back really far. More often than not, we have a hard time bringing it back shorter. We're just not comfortable with that. We're not sure that we're going to be able to hit the ball far enough. So as a result, what we see very often is short swing and then a really quick flip of the hands and the arms. It's where we want really light pressure in our hands. As we mentioned last week when we were talking about short game, this is about finesse, feel, some touch, okay? So just like with anything, like you're holding a little puppy, right? We're not going to squeeze it and try to control it. We're going to let him move around a little bit, but we're going to make sure that we're holding him securely so that he doesn't hurt himself and jump out of our hands and arms, right? The same kind of thing here with the club. I don't need this 10-finger death grip on there. Just be nice and loose, okay? Club's not going anywhere, and we don't need to swing it too fast. So we're going to control our distance with two things. One is a controlled speed throughout our swing. What I mentioned was shorter, and then we see that really quick flip, that really fast motion. We really want to trust that the distance back I take the club is going to be the first factor in how far the ball is going to go. So if it goes down here to about an 8 or even a 9, I'm just going to let the club come back down to meet the turf. okay? If I get too fast with my hands, the club actually elevates, okay? When the club elevates, our hands get really quick, we hit this blade shot, okay? That club comes up a little bit, we miss it by just a half an inch, and we hit that blade shot, and then off the ball's going. We don't have that control. The other thing that was happening to me, my tendency was to take the club back a little bit too far. Okay, I'm going to adjust the camera just so you can see this. Okay. So, as I mentioned, we're going to let the length of the backswing determine how far we're going to try to fly the shot. Secondly to that, it's an even tempo coming through. Okay. What was happening to me was I took it back. What happens with a lot of golfers when they miss hit it the other way, they take it back a little too far, then they actually have to slow down going into that golf shot. When they begin to slow down those hands, the club actually becomes stagnant. You're going to impact the turf behind the golf ball. As I experienced here with two different golf shots right in a row. I actually slowed down because I came back too far, and I chunk it. Okay? Exceptionally hard to control that distance if we're taking it too far back, and then slowing down, or too far back and too fast coming through. So what we want to try to do now is, no matter what the distance is, I want to feel nice, even tempo, always accelerating our arms and hands through the shot, okay, but not quickly. Okay, so back to 8 or 9. Okay, you might notice where my hands finished were continuing through the shot. They weren't behind the club and letting that club pass through. They stayed in front, but they were nice and smooth with good tempo, good rhythm, and a good pace. Okay, nice light grip pressure. If you do it really well over time, you know, give yourself some credit. 20, 30, 40 shots, whatever it might be. Spend 15, 20 minutes down here. Repeat that 2 or 3 times a day or a week, and you will be amazed at how much more frequently you're going to find the center of the face, okay? I can't stress it enough. Right here, we want to find the center point of that club face to be able to control the distance. Okay, there's one last thing I was going to touch on, and that was extending a little bit more on the distance that we're trying to hit it, okay? So, can I hit a target right here, 4 feet in front of me? Can I hit it about 8 to 10 feet in front of me? And then again, can I take that same club and about 15 feet out there? So we've talked a little bit about the length of the golf swing and how that's going to affect the distance, as well as the speed coming through, how that's going to impact the overall flight and then the run out of the shot. So what I like to do is create a little bit of a ladder system. Again, one of the things that I mentioned earlier was one of the more challenging things that we see golfers that they try to, when we ask them to do, is I want you to fly it just 3 to 4 feet in front of you. I just want the ball to carry right here. Wherever it goes from there, it goes. We do that to show them that there is an ability for them to start controlling the club and the club face and the speed with such a short shot. Okay? This is a great one. If we start low and slow with the short shot, we can work our way up to building to that longer golf swing. Okay? Just like learning to write. My children, or my youngest, he's still working on his arithmetic, his writing, okay, his penmanship. And we work really hard. And we walk through every little step of, okay, well, do you like the way that looks? No, not necessarily. Can you read it? Can your teacher read that? No, it needs some more work. Okay, let's work on it. Okay? Let's ingrain that same habit into what we do with our practice. We can do this. You can do it. Okay, if we start small, we can do this. I'm just going to fly this one right here on that first head cover. I don't know if you heard it, but I hit it. I got lucky. Okay. Okay. Try that one more time. Okay. Proof's in the pudding. I hit it. You can too, I promise. Remember last week's session with the short game? Give yourself a good lie right now. This is not about, you know, having a bad lie. How much am I going to stress myself out? Okay. Give yourself a good lie. Second target. Okay. I was a little short of it, but pretty close. Made good contact. Now I got to adjust. How far is that swing going to be? If I need to take a practice swing in between to get a gauge for how hard I need to hit it, that's great. Okay. Got it. All right. Lastly, going to that last target out there. Again, I'm going to take that practice swing to the same degree that I had planned to execute this one. Looking, just trying to land it there. Pretty close. You notice I didn't even have to take it back as far because I knew I could continue through with good momentum. Hit the ball solid, it's going to fly there. Okay? Again, last target. Okay, fine line. If you may have noticed, took the club back a little bit too far. I flew the target by maybe 2 feet. Okay? Acceptable, however, 2 feet out there, flying it 2 feet farther, equated to about 8 to 10 feet further in total distance. So, with that being said, hopefully this gives you a couple of things you can do to work on both finding the center of that face, no matter what club you hit. Also, kind of maybe opening your eyes to the other options that we have in our golf bag. It's not always a sand wedge, pitching wedge around the green. You might have a 7-iron. You could use a 6-iron. You could use a hybrid. You could even use a 3-wood. Doesn't always have to be the same club. Be creative. I promise it'll actually make you have a little bit more fun, I would hope. Otherwise, we're going to cut this one off for today. I hope you enjoyed it. We've got a perfect day today. We've got some great weather coming up. I hope everybody stays safe, and we'll see you out there at the golf course soon. All right, take care.